When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Oh, Cody, you're muted.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
There you go.
Off to a great start, as you can tell, friends. This is Making an Impact. The natural, Astro Pizarro, apparently already ready to go. I'm the foe, Cody the foe, clearly out of touch because I've been away for a week. Uh, Here to talk some
Trigger.
Impact Wrestling from tonight. Astrid, how are you? How are you feeling this week?
Doing a lot better this week. I feel a little bit more refreshed. How are you feeling tonight?
Um, a lot less stressed. It's nice to have had some
Yeah.
downtime this week to just relax and kind of get into the routine and get into a rhythm and not have to be stressing about what tomorrow may or may not hold. So tonight's impact, I was able to actually sit down and pay some attention to it and really enjoy our road to Under Siege right now.
Yes.
Um, Missed quite a bit last week. Hopefully you and Parrish held the show together
Yeah.
in my absence. Excited about what happened last week. Excited to get into this week. Let's just jump right into it with BTI, Astrid. You had a chance to catch it, eh?
Yep. Okay.
So on before the impact this week, we ended up with a tag team match, kind of an unusual teaming and pairing of sorts that we got the design with Diener and Khan wrestling and Angels at ringside, taking on Swinger's Dungeon of Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice, still on the road to 50. I know last time I was here 2 weeks ago, I was hoping that that was the end of Swinger's Dungeon and that Johnny had kicked Zicky to the curb and we would actually get a proper Zicky Dice singles run. Clearly, we're not there yet. We get Swinger's Dungeon, Team Fun, Team, Silly, taking on Team Serious of the design on the road to their Under Siege match. How did you feel about the match itself?
This was better than the match last week. I'll tell you that. It's very goes. Hello, everybody. That BTI match is exactly what I want from wrestling, fun, stupidity, and Johnny Swinger match of the year for me and Master. It was definitely better than last week. I'll tell you that, Barry, at least. No, I feel like this was a lot better. Like the comedy, I like Zicky and Swinger together, so I feel like this was a better pairing, and I feel like it helped with like showing off like Dina and Con in a different light with these two. But I think what made the match for me more than anything was the commentary, because Gia had so many comments that just definitely made me laugh that I had to write them down when she said them, and I had to go back and like note them, because there was a part towards the beginning that Swinger says he wants Con in the corner, and then Gia goes, "Well, Johnny Swinger's a con man himself," um, and then she goes, "He's got something up his sleeve. I mean, bandana." And I was like, "Oh no, she got me with that one." She like broke me out of my concentration with those comments. And then she's like, "Oh, look at him trying to do a test of strength," but I don't think he realized that Khan is taller than him, so it's not gonna work out for him. And like him going in the corner trying to do it that way, and I was like, that was funny to watch.
He's lacking in the
Um,
height department.
yes, I'm like I missed writing that one down, but I love that line too. Um, and not only that, but the part about the distraction is something that we see from the design so often. I missed the part of Angels, but they pointed it out like right away. It's like, oh, Angels is playing with Swinger's cart in the front that he uses for his entrance. But having Dino doing the distraction, Angels being involved in there too. I was like, holy crap! Like I feel like in this one, both Swinger and Zicky got really like beat up in like not a bad way, but like good enough way that they weren't in the ring for a while, especially Swinger. And I love the part of like when it's Zicky's doing the hot tag and they kind of go towards the corner of Swinger. And Swinger's like, "Yep, not getting in there after I got beat up not so long ago." And they're like, "Yeah, he's smart enough to get in there again." Um, but yeah, I loved and even the ending of it too. From like beginning to end. So I feel like this was better than what I saw last week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I did take note that I feel like this is Swinger's longest match of the year. Probably and even longer than that. I can't remember a time that Johnny Swinger has been in the ring for as long as he was for this match, or as like not even just being in the ring, like as a tag team with this match was probably the longest match I've seen him involved in. Um, and Zicky, I know we had the one match in Atlanta where Zicky wrestled his former partner and his friend, where he went quite a long time. But I do feel like this was another good showing for Zicky Dice. both in while he was getting beaten down, but also when he got that hot tag, he actually looked really good as a hot tag coming in up until Khan finally just shut him down and put him down.
Yeah, but I feel like like the performance tonight was definitely like exactly what I wanted like the match to be last week. So that's why I feel like I enjoyed it better tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Barry messing with Swinger's ring was the heel move of the night. Absolutely. Not just messing with it, he took and threw it up the ramp at one point and swung the gate open as it bounced around. That was our BTI match, though. Ultimately, as you could have guessed, the design get the win. Khan with the power bomb to Zicky Dice, shutting down his hot tag momentum. And then chasing Swinger out of the ring and off onto the apron as he hands Zicky Dice over to Diener for what the announce team announced as the antidote, I guess, is the name of Diener's DDT now.
Good to know because I didn't know that.
Heading into the main show, we got a recap of Macklin versus Rhino last week and the beatdown that ensued afterwards. We've received word that Rhino ended up being injured from that, I believe on social after last week, that he's out for an undisclosed amount of time. And then we get a recap of Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace versus the Coven, including Trinity coming down after the match, saving Jordan from the 2-on-1 beatdown by the Coven. And then we get into the main show. And our favorite wrestler, the X Division champion, Trey Miguel, taking on Laredo Kid in a non-title match. Honestly, this match I just enjoyed. I didn't take a ton of notes down on it. It really was just a great X Division match. Nothing too special, nothing too fantastic throughout the match. I didn't feel just Trey finding new ways to win and new ways to really kind of solidify his heel persona, taking off the mask of Laredo Kid at the end and pinning him while he's trying to keep his face covered. Really enjoyed it. I'm really kind of getting behind this Trey now. It's been a long time coming. I really kind of stood behind his skill all along, but the heel tactics felt like a bit much for a little while. But I really feel like he's starting to get more and more and more comfortable in this as he goes along.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like every single match that Trey's in, we do see something different from him, and I've been enjoying that lately, especially with this run. I love starting off like the match, like not even like a moment or two into it. Laredo Kid having that dive by the barricade and the way that Trey's selling it looked incredible. I think the only part that kind of bothered me was that when Laredo Kid was doing the submission on Trey, he kind of couldn't lock it in on like correctly, and it took him a moment. Like he went back and like locked it in afterwards. But even after that, there's a part that Trey does a little kick to the back of Laredo Kid's back head, and I like the way he did that part too. But overall, I feel like there was innovative offense on Trey's end, which I really enjoyed that more than anything. When this one, like you said, him removing the mask, it just the only thing that it reminded me a lot of what happens in the AEW, especially with the Lucha Bros. They always try to mess up with their masks, and it's like, no, I hate that. I've seen it so often in AEW that now I hate it. I really do. Like, why does it have to be the mask? Okay, I'll forgive you because it was this time, Trey. This one time, and that's it. Don't repeat it afterwards. But no, it's like it's nothing out of the ordinary in the fact that we knew the Trey was going to win the match, and here I was not expecting Laredo to win it whatsoever. But I feel like overall it was a great match. It was a great choice for an opener too. I feel like they have a great pacing, and it was a great showing off for Trey as well.
Yeah, I'm always behind the X Division, and I've always been a firm supporter of the X Division being your best opening match. You put these guys out in the ring to start the show, you get everybody going, you get the speed, the pace up on the night, and then you can go in waves from there, as opposed to starting with a slow plodding match and then having to try and pick it up later. And no forgiveness for Trey. Bad Trey. That comes from Ed, not from me. I forgive Trey.
Yeah, and I remember seeing this, I think it was yesterday. So now that Barry said Laredo Kid also reminded me of it. He said Laredo Kid never has had a bad match. I don't know if it was yesterday, and I know I sent it to you as the match was happening, so I wouldn't forget about it. Laredo Kid announced that he's officially a free agent as well. So I don't know if he's part of the tapings for next week, but if not, this probably is his last match in Impact for now.
Laredo Kid has always kind of been one of those guys with Impact, though, where he feels like he's more of a one-off here and there contract as opposed to like a full contract. So he may be somebody that kind of comes and goes as they need, kind of fillers if possible. But if he does end up landing somewhere else, hopefully he lands on his feet, and all the best for him. After the match, Trey Miguel grabs a mic, starts demanding that everyone has to start putting respect on his name, that he hasn't gotten the respect he deserves since winning the title, and he's going to take this entire show hostage, and he's just going to sit down in the ring, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And we go to a commercial break. And I have to sit through a commercial break and then get back to the show, whereas Astrid just gets to go from one segment to the next because she watches on YouTube.
But it still is kind of awkward because it kind of gives you like kind of like a black screen for a moment while they do the commercial break that we don't get to watch, and then he's right away back to it. It's still in the ring, so it's nice to have that continuity of like it's like probably like a second moment and that's it.
After the commercial break, we get Chris Sabin obviously coming out to the ring as Trey's contender for the title at Under Siege. Really enjoyed Sabin on the mic here. He really hit a lot of different levels with this. You know, he understands why Trey feels disrespected. He understands that Trey hasn't gotten a ton of respect, but he also throws Trey under the bus saying, you know, you get what you give, and you haven't given much respect, starting with when you won that title and decided to spray paint and tag all over it. By doing that, you disrespected everybody who's ever held the title before. And then he goes on to name drop some of the greatest champions of the history of Impact. The AJ Styles, Loki, Sanjay Dutt, Amazing Red, Speedball Mike Bailey, Alex Shelley, Petey Williams, Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, and says, you know, and then includes himself in that by saying, you know, we set this title up to be as important as it is, and you're basically kicking our names in the dirt by doing what you're doing with it right now. And then goes on to declare that, again, that he will become a 9-time X Division champion at Under Siege, and tells Trey to get out of his ring. And I was a little surprised that Trey just obliged and got out here.
The first thing I thought was Sabin interrupting this too is like, I'm definitely not used to the Motor City Machine Guns doing things separately. It feels so odd seeing Chris Sabin by himself. I was not used to that at all. But definitely love the promo from here. And like, I also like that part of like him name dropping all these people. Like you said, you know, AJ, Loki, he said Jerry Lynn, Amazing Red, Shelley too, Petey Williams, Jay Dutt, Jay Lethal, even Bailey. I like how Bailey's more one of the few like newest ones that he mentioned. He says Swan and Alexander. And I love how he goes with this 9-time thing, saying it 9 times. And I was like, okay, I don't want to hear it 9 times. It doesn't have the same feel as it does when it used to say 5 times. But yeah, no, it's too much. It takes too long. But I love him doing that too. But yeah, I feel weird that the way Trey has been lately more like a rebel in that aspect in this particular reign. It felt very odd to see him just like leave the ring as Sabin was saying it. And it's like, yeah, it's something that I didn't think it was going to happen when it happened. So that definitely shocked me. But overall, I love how Sabin addressed himself in this promo here, and the way he went back to was like, I'm Chris Sabin, bitch. And it's like, get out of my ring. And the way he said it, just like, I love that veteran feel to this, to the character, the way he's portraying it towards Trey there. I loved it. Yes, that is saying 5 times sounds so much better. I don't have the patience for the 9-time Sabin. I really don't.
As long as it doesn't end up in Chris Sabin in the ring doing a spinneroonie, we're okay.
Don't wish that upon us. Thanks. No.
Did you want to kind of continue, Astrid, into the next segment there as well?
Yeah. So we had last week during an interview, Trinity was having an interview, and we had Jay interrupt her, and he's like, yeah, let's take a picture. And then at the end, she asked Gia, like, who is that? And she goes, oh, that's Jay, he works here. And that was just like the simple explanation that we got. But I love seeing the interaction on Twitter later that Jay posted a picture, and then Trinity tweets separately, oh, hey, Jay, thanks for the picture. And obviously we know that being Jay, if somebody involved with Giselle, we knew something else was going to come out of this. And for those that didn't know, Giselle and Gil Kim have been in Amazing Race, teaming up together. That's why we haven't seen Giselle the last couple of weeks on TV in any way, shape, or form. So I like how Jay comes to her. He goes, "Well, I got in trouble for the picture that we got that like you took last week." I think is what he told her, and she goes, "You took?" I'm like, "You said you're the one that posted it. Like it wasn't me." And he said, "Well, Giselle has been injured and she's hasn't been clear. She won't be clear until next week." But she didn't like it. She was pissed about the picture. Um, but and then Trinity said, "Well, she's so pissed. Tell her to tell me to her face because I have an unpaid contract for Under Siege that I can have a match." And then Jay just kind of tells her like, "I'll tell Giselle," and then we'll see kind of what she says, and then he leaves. Again, that's just it just made me laugh, but versus when you continue what happened last week and seeing the way he's like, "Oh, you posted the picture." He goes, "Don't gaslight me. Like it was you that posted it." I like the back and forth between these two. I feel like it was just funny overall, which I wasn't expecting from Jay. But I love how Trinity went right away to like, I have that open contract. I don't have an opponent, so let's challenge yourself for this. Just makes sense because we haven't seen Giselle the last couple of weeks. But it felt kind of weird at the same time, starting this match without Giselle being involved, but then Giselle being involved in the match when it's finalized. But overall, I think it was a nice quick segment to announce this match later on.
Yeah, way to break kayfabe, Astrid. We heard in this segment that Giselle's been hurt, and that's why she hasn't been around. Now you're telling me she was hurt and she's been on the Amazing Race, running the race around the world while she's hurt? Jeez.
Yeah. Powerful.
It never, she really is the quintessential diva. Even an injury can't stop her from running a race.
No, never.
We get another backstage kind of promo then after this, setting up the design versus Rich Swann and Sami Callihan. They're sitting together, kind of cutting this promo together, talking a lot about their past together, giving us a detailed history of them coming up through their respective indies, how their careers have kind of been linked and intertwined throughout all of the different places they've went to, including it up to when Rich arrived in Impact. And we get kind of the scene of Sami Callihan in OVE offering the position in OVE to Rich Swann, to which Rich refused and then attacked and turned his back on Sami. I really liked kind of the touch here where Sami says, even if we've been on opposite sides of the ring and we're not like working together or on the same side, if anybody asks me who the most talented wrestler in the world is, Rich Swann's going to be the guy I say. And just the way they've kind of built this story up and really kind of sold on these two and how tight they are. I'm really enjoying the way that's coming, and including the part going back to when Sami was still in the design and had to turn on Rich in that number one contenders match and whatnot. The only thing I'm left wondering now is who's the third?
Yeah, I kept thinking back of like I kind of want to go back to see like Sami's like past partners or friends to see if I could come up with anybody there, but I love the setting for this one because I feel like it was different from what we've seen before. Having that interview of them talking about each other and the way they brought up, their background, how long they've known each other. And I love the parts of like, we became best friends and we lived together, we traveled together, even though we were going to different places, we always kind of meet up back at our place. And it was nice seeing that from how they started up until now. And I like the part of like Rich when he's like, yeah, when Sami was destroying Impact and here I was supporting Impact and fighting for Impact. And even Sami says, when I don't like Rich, I can just say he's the most talented human being ever. And I love that back and forth they have with it's just like, no, you're great. It's like, no, you're great. And they compliment each other, tell each other what they both do. But yeah, I just kept thinking back in my mind, who could be that third person? Because right now I don't have a clue. I've had to see more about it later, but I do like seeing that connection of like we go all the way back, not to only Rich Swann's beginning in Impact, but like to beginning how they really met and how they became friends. And then I love how he goes, oh yeah, there's like 45 people with the hoodies. They come from under the ring and they come from the side. It's like we need backup. But I feel like tonight at least, I didn't feel like they gave us a hint as to who that person could be. So I wondered, because the only people aside from Rich and Callihan they mentioned would be the people from OVE. But that's something that Ed has been talking about for quite a while, that perhaps we see, that OVE being like rebranded here in a way, an Impact again. So I don't know if that could be the only indication, but I feel like other than that, we didn't get any clue as to who it could be. So I don't know, but overall I love this segment. I love the way they built this up and the relationship between both of them, and how they presented it to us on screen here.
I don't know who else he can go to here. There's even within the current active roster, there's nobody that's really jumping to mind as not really being involved in anything right now. The roster is, for the most part, feels pretty well used and well rounded, and everybody's doing stuff. The only other person that's had history and impact and history with OVE that I don't know is really doing anything else currently would be Madman Fulton.
Yeah.
He hasn't really been anywhere since getting taken out by Josh and having his contract end. As far as I know, he hasn't showed up anywhere of really high value or anything. So it might be something where he's the next man up, making a surprise return, and he'd be somebody big enough to really square off with Khan and have that big man duel.
Oh, I didn't say it before, but I can definitely tell you, he was in the audience for the Ring of Honor tapings that I went to at first. So I don't know if that could be anything going on in the future. Barry, that's somebody who I thought about, and oh my god, oh my god, I would die if he does. But I know that we're teasing online of like Jake was like, I don't have, like, he doesn't have a lot going on, like the aspect that he's not signed. He's doing a lot of indie bookings, but not signed at the moment with any particular company. And I forgot who the second person was. And I was like, I wanted to see Jake something again in Impact. I didn't get to watch. I wasn't watching Impact when he was there, and I missed out on that part. And I would like to see him again there. So
I would love to see Jake something come back to Impact. I was very disappointed when he left to see other things. So if he were to come back and actually get a long run at potentially an X Division or tag title reign and some kind of success in Impact, I would love that for both Impact Wrestling and for Jake something.
yeah.
Moving past this segment, we got kind of the setup for a future ABC versus Good Hands feud. Obviously, ABC has other things on their hands right now that they're taking on Flash Morgan and Mark Andrews. What is it, Subculture, I think?
Yeah.
The team name? Yeah. Taking on Subculture at Under Siege. But we got the first tastes of the Good Hands on ABC with Ace Austin taking on Jason Hotch tonight. Austin obviously accompanied by Bay, Hotch accompanied by both John Schuyler and their supposed new mentor as part of the Learning Tree 2.0, the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers.
There you go.
Yeah. Perfect. You even have it loaded up and ready to go. So yeah, Myers joins the Learning Tree at ringside. I'm calling them the Learning Tree now. They're not the Good Hands anymore. They're just Learning Tree 2.0.
I was about to say, we're sticking to this now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. They literally are. Like, they might as well just become Zicky Dice at this point. Honestly, this match just felt like Ace Austin was in control basically throughout. Every so often, Hotch might get a shot in here or there. The only times Hotch really ended up getting an upper hand, though, were when Myers or Schuyler at ringside kind of helped him out. You got Myers distracting the ref and Schuyler interfering to shift the momentum. Swan ends up taking out Schuyler, but it gave Hotch enough of an upper hand. And then Ace gets a perfectly timed sucker punch from Myers, allowing Hotch to get the roll up and a pin over the current champions. I wanted to enjoy this match more than I did. It felt predictable. The fact that they set this up the way they did with the Good Hands, who for the most part have been losing almost nonstop since they formed as a team. Myers' injection here gives them a little bit of life, a little bit of newness, a little bit of freshness. And it just felt all along that the foreshadowing was there from commentary and from the match being made, that this was a setup where Austin was going to get screwed over to set up the Good Hands for a future title shot.
I kept thinking about that too since the match was announced. Very here going. Every time I've seen Jason Hotch, I've been impressed. I hope Impact have him signed to a long contract. I don't know for how. I don't remember specific about that part of it, but yeah, I feel like I enjoyed the match, but it just like you said, it felt from the get go like one of those matches that was just more like a setup to for the good hands to get that title shot in the future. Um, and I feel like more than anything, I knew that Jason was gonna win it because they have the numbers on their side, versus we only have Bay and Austin's corner. But yeah, seeing that it's one of those things that I don't see them winning when the match does happen because I feel like BC has been so dominant since they won the titles and even before that too. And to me, it wouldn't be the time for them to lose those titles. But I feel like it would be a good way for Myers to go like, how could you guys swear after everything? Like I taught you kind of line when they lose that match. Um, but yeah, I feel like it would be just a good way for Myers to keep growing with the good hands moving forward. But I just like you said from the get go, I kept thinking this is just a way to set up for a future title shot. That was all I kept thinking. So I knew in my mind Jason was gonna win the match somehow, some kind of interference. Just didn't know how that was gonna happen. But yeah, in the match itself, like you said, it just felt like most of it was Austin. And Austin is incredible as he is. I feel like they had great chemistry, but it was mostly Austin doing all the moves as Jason really did anything. But not saying that Jason was bad or anything like that in like the match. But that's how it was more like it was Ace being like the one calling the shot as the match was happening. But yeah, overall just interesting how it goes moving forward as like I mentioned that they have the numbers on their side. Do we get somebody from Bullet Club kind of supporting Ace and Bay in that way, so that way they're even. Who knows? That would be the only thing that will kind of find it interesting, aside from Myers being that that teacher going forward for the good hands.
Would it be fair to say Ace Austin was the superstar and Jason Hotch was just a good hand?
Oh gosh. Maybe.
Sorry, couldn't help myself. We get a little bit of follow-up from last week in the Macklin story next. Last week where we had Macklin mad at Singh and Shira about not being there, not having his back, not being reliable. Their business relationship was being cut off, resulting in Singh and Shira going off on their own and deciding that they needed to do something to win Macklin back. And so they attacked Heath before the match against Rhino. Now we have Macklin with Singh and Shira basically commending them for what they did, appreciating that they took out Heath for him last week, and then tells them that their business relationship can resume, and he has another mission, and that he doesn't want them to ask questions, just follow orders. They take off to do whatever the mission is. Simple, straightforward. I wish this was how we had set up their business relationship in the first place. Just a quick 1 minute segment like this to set us up right off the bat. But at least they're giving us a little bit more now in terms of behind the scenes to keep us filled in on how this relationship is developing. Did you have anything else to add on it?
No, I feel the same way. Like I feel like something like this would have been better if it happened before, to kind of give us like connections. Like why are they working together? Why does Macklin just wants to have an extra support, and that's why he has them as as a team helping him. But I would have liked that introduction there first before just randomly everything that happened beforehand. I think something like this would have made more sense, and then probably the attack on Heath and Rhino and everything that happened last week, and then something like this happening this week of like, you want to continue to get on my good side, let's just follow what I'm telling you right now to do this. But building that relationship, I would have preferred seeing that first and then everything else. But this was something simple and to the point, which is exactly what it needed to be. I'm glad it wasn't anything that took a lot of time either for it to set up. But yeah, overall, I wish it would have been first.
Yeah. Moving from that short segment, we move to another short kind of story development segment. Gia Miller is back interviewing Jordan Grace, asks her about Deonna being hurt last week in their tag team match, and possibly not being at 100% next week for Under Siege and how she feels about that. Jordan starts going on about how, that's not what she wanted. If she's going to beat Deonna, she wants to do it at full strength, to be able to beat her at her best so she can say she was the better woman, that it wasn't anything else that helped her get there. for God knows what reason, at this point, we have Alicia Edwards come in and intervene. I guess playing devil's advocate, trying to sow the seeds of dissent or something along those lines. Accusing Jordan of letting Deonna get hurt on purpose, that, we know what you're all about. You try and play the baby face, but in actuality, you don't want to face Deonna at her best, so you let her take the beating. And then she just walks away. And I'm like, huh?
I thought the same thing when she showed up. I was like, so how is this connected? I have no idea. But she didn't just leave though. Jordan said she was gonna. I don't know how. I forgot what word she said exactly, but she threatened to like hit her, and then she went like back and like, no, that's not gonna happen. And then she just left. But yeah, I just when it happened, I was like, okay, why you of all people? I don't get this. I'm just thinking like maybe
Jordan accused her, said something along the lines of like, you want to see someone take a beating?
Yeah, something like that.
And then
but
she
it's
ran
like
away.
the only thing I kept thinking of. Maybe next week, since Deanna's not 100%, maybe we get Jordan versus Alicia just to give her like a warm-up match kind of thing, and then whatever interaction happens with her and Deanna. But other than that, I'm just like, why are you really here? How is this any of your business? Like, why are you defending Deanna in a way? I don't get it. When I saw her there, I was like, I don't know if I'm interested or if I'm curious. I don't know how I feel about her showing up here. And like overall, this part, I was like, I could have done without this part happening. Like overall, I would have just done like the interview asking Jordan how she felt about knowing that Gianna's injured or not 100%. But the Alicia part and everything, I would have done without, to be honest. So
at this point, I feel like whenever Alicia shows up on my screen, she's just there to take a beating.
Yeah. That's it.
I'll let you kind of lead us into the next, because I feel like you have a lot to say about the next match here.
So that Brian Barry, not Alicia wrestling. Nothing's ever good at both Alicia. Yeah, I hate agreeing with that, but yeah, I have to agree with
You
that.
sure you don't want a ride or die t-shirt, Astrid?
No, I like the green jacket though, but I like the Eddie version. I don't care about hers. So. I'm okay with that too. I like how you said I like for me to talk about like having a lot to say about the next part, but it's funny because this is the part that I decided to take no notes on it, like whatsoever, on what was happening. Because I was enjoying the match so much that I didn't want to break out of it to take a note and miss something. So I can't really specify like the moveset or anything that happened, but I can just say is like Trin has, she did such an incredible job for somebody that has been off the ring for a year at this point. She didn't feel like she missed a beat. Like if you would have told me like that she missed a year in the of wrestling, I wouldn't have believed you because it didn't feel that way in this match. And I'm glad that this match was with Kilynn King and not Taylor Wilde. Thank God. Because I feel like the match in itself, I feel like it was a great experience for Kilynn King to be in this match. I feel like even with both of their different styles, they complemented each other so well. And even when you know that Kilynn is not really like a fast-paced kind of person, like it still had a fast pace within the match tonight. And I feel like they meshed so well together. I would not mind seeing this match again later. I may go back and kind of watch just this particular match, but I feel like they killed it. They did incredible with it. I had seen a little bit of like what the ending looked like from the tapings before, so I wasn't surprised that Trin won. Either way, you know that Trinity is gonna win, being that it's her debut match. But I feel like they did what they had to do. I was just glad it was really well received. I just want to see what other people are saying about it online because I know that people are gonna be supporting it as well. But overall, these two, I hope they do have another match later on because it was so well done. I did wonder though if being that she pinned one of the tag team champions, if something will be involving that a little bit later, perhaps, or if it's just like a one thing just because it's a debut and that's about it. So curious about moving forward, how if that will be connected in any way, shape, or form. But these two just did incredible together. I feel like they have such great chemistry. I'm glad that Kilynn got the opportunity to be Trin's debut match in Impact.
Yeah, I definitely echo a lot of those same feelings. I thought she looked great for her debut match. I noted that I thought Kilynn was a perfect first opponent, specifically with Taylor Wilde at ringside. to really just put Trinity in peril for a lot of the time. It didn't feel like your typical debut where, you can see them easily on the path to victory, and it's just, you take a move here or there, but really the debuting star has the majority offense. In this one, it felt like Trinity really was in peril at a couple different points because she was dealing with the numbers working against her. And Taylor Wilde, as much as we harp on her for her in-ring since she's returned, she does still have some redeeming qualities as a tag team partner and as an outside interference member. Couple notes that I took off this match, and this is coming off of like last week and just some general feelings about Trinity and her time as Naomi as well. I would like to see Trinity use that top rope blockbuster as a finisher moving forward. I thought that was clean. It was crisp. Kilynn took it great. Trinity looked great hitting it. I know it's awkward sometimes to use a top rope move as your finisher. In comparison to the rear view, I will take that blockbuster 99 times out of 100. Absolutely. The rear view has a one-off where maybe it works in a given situation, but that blockbuster should be her finishing move going forward. Barry in peril of having a tarot card waved at her in a spooky way. I mean, sure, but it did still work for the numbers to work against her. Luckily, we didn't have to deal with the rear view as the finish in this one, though, because Trinity pulled out the Starstruck submission that she has used in the past as well and gave us a submission win for her first win in Impact Wrestling. Somewhat surprisingly, but very deservedly.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't the rear view because I had never liked the rear view. I really haven't. So I'm glad that's not her finisher in any shape or form in here because I don't want to see it like happening like often like that. But yeah, overall, I love the match between these two. And they did incredible. Like I definitely have only positive things to say about it.
The rear view is just so awful for someone who should be taken as a threat. And she used it last week when she came out to save Jordan from the coven. She used the rear view on Kilynn King, which kind of set up this match. And I was, after her debut 2 weeks ago, I was hoping that it wouldn't be the case. And then she hit it last week. I was like, oh God, she's actually going to use it as her finisher, isn't she? So I was very thankful that she didn't this week, today. But I do feel like she needs to just either get rid of it or just save it as a fun move for the middle of the match, not a move that you're going to win championships with.
Yeah.
After the match, Trinity's celebration is cut short as Jay Vidal comes out to the Quintessential Divas theme music. He proceeds to announce that Giselle has accepted the challenge for Under Siege. And then he tries to slap Trinity, but Trin catches it and kicks him in the head and says she will meet Giselle in Under Siege next week.
Yeah, I didn't like the part of like, I'm like torn about it because I'm not saying Giselle's bad, but she's not one of my favorites. So I wonder how this will go, but I wonder how their styles are going to blend in together. That's the part I'm curious about. The only part I didn't like it was like I feel like Jay took a little bit long, but like when he turned around and like to do the slap, he took a little bit too long, and I'm like, just do it already.
He made it very, very obvious because if you're watching, he's got his hand and he's like twitching, like he's nervous about slapping, and then when he finally turns around, it's too late.
I was like, you could have done it a little bit faster. That would have been fine with it, but he took so long that this one, I'm like, we're just gonna get a slap.
Gotta be careful though. So you're knocking Parrish's girl. Can't knock Giselle. Parrish will come after you.
No, I was saying about Jay. I didn't say about Giselle. I didn't like the Jay slap. It's the part that I was like, eh.
No, but you said you're not a big fan of Giselle in the ring for next week.
I didn't say she was bad. I'm just saying she's not one of my favorites. And who cares what Parrish thinks anyway? He's gonna see this at some point, as it is. So
yeah. Once we finish this segment, we go backstage to find out what Macklin's mission was, as him and Singh and Shira approach and ambush PCO backstage. They beat him down, they kick him around, and then Macklin shatters a couple of cement blocks across the back of PCO while he's laying on the ground, leaving PCO howling in pain. The only thing I can think of as I'm watching this, please bring Vincent back. Please, please, please bring Vincent back. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. PCO needs Vincent.
No, Vincent is occupied in Ring of Honor right now, so unfortunately he won't be back. The only thing I would have wished was what happened is the same thing as it happened last week, that we got everything kind of like in one take. It was almost up in a row, and I would have liked if, let's say they did, oh yeah, let's do follow my orders, and like maybe you kind of see them walking somewhere, and then not even probably like a couple seconds later, you see the part with PCO, like rather than us having to wait. Because I feel like this is, I could have done like a sequence. It would have been better for me, like how it was last week. It felt more like a story. Just the part with like the cement, they just okay, I guess. I was curious what you would think about it when you saw it, because I was like, that was a meh for me. I was like, that's not what I expected it. I prefer more the choke slam, the way he did it, than everything else.
Yeah. I don't know. You know PCO is going to bounce back from this. He's not human. Yeah. I did actually enjoy the next segment a little bit more, because after no mention of it whatsoever last week, this week we go back to the Undead Realm door and find Jessica there just staring at an hourglass, just watching the sands fall, waiting for Rosemary to come back. The Coven approach and tell her to go find Rosemary, which Jessica's like, I can't, the door's locked. Rosemary's like, well, I can let you in. And they have this fun little back and forth where they're arguing about whether or not Rosemary, or Taylor Wilde rather, has enough magic to open the door. And Jessica saying Rosemary doesn't want me to go in there. And then she calls out that if Taylor Wilde's magic was actually that strong, she would have seen Kilynn King's loss. And Wilde turns it around saying she didn't lose. She was just setting the groundwork for what's to come. So more teases of Jessica going to the Undead Realm. But also, do we care about what's to come?
No. I really don't. I love more like the part of like Jessica and the back and forth they had than that answer. I love her having her with like the sand clock and just waiting for it. And it was like, it's been a whole week and it still has like this much left in it supposedly. But I love how she's like, oh yeah, she's told me to stay away from the magic and not to go in the room. And then Taylor saying, oh, I can ask the spirit to unlock it. And she goes, well, they told me you're not powerful enough to do that. And then I think it was Kilynn that said, Rosemary isn't always right. But I love the back and forth they had between these two here. It was funny. And it was exactly what I needed to have, give us that like kind of like progress report of what's going on between them. And we still have Jessica here waiting for Rosemary for now, it seems. But yeah, I'm not interested in what's going to happen next with the Coven in there. To be specific, what with Taylor Wilde. But yeah, no, not my thing. Sorry.
Jody Threat was in action next against a local talent by the name of Sierra. Do you have any familiarity with Sierra, and what did you think of the match?
I was like, I know I've seen a little bits and pieces of her, and oh yeah. Barry saying, if you don't mind me going back, my main health and safety worry with PCO bit is someone put flying the cardboard boxes on those floor blockings that the fire escapers from open. No, we don't mind you going back to it, just so you know.
No, they wouldn't block it from opening because they're fire escape. They have to push. They don't pull in. I was questioning the cardboard too, and then I just assumed that this is a beat-up old arena and they must have cardboard down because they can't afford floor mats, and that's where you're supposed to kick the dirt off your shoes.
You would know more than I do. You work in that type of building. I don't. We're in a warehouse. It does not work the same way. I'll tell you that. But no, I seen a little bits and pieces of Sierra on social media. Nothing out of the ordinary here was what we've seen from Jody so far. I like that the people that she's gone against that actually put the nameplates for her and for them, because I feel like I'm used to like in NXT, they used to be like, oh, local competitor here. And I remember one of them being Liv Morgan beforehand. I forgot if it was Eva Marie, but it was like Eva Marie versus local competitor, and then ended up being Liv at the end. So see, I prefer them having the nameplates and them giving them their actual names in here while they're using them, so we don't forget who they are. But it's a match that doesn't last too long. Jody is in control. Jody gets the win. I'm just curious. I like Jody how it's going right now, the direction, but I wonder how much longer this is going to last before she gets into something more permanent with somebody from the roster, not just somebody else coming in and doing that, that type of quick match. Because we had that tease with like her and Taylor Rising, but it was really short lived. So we really haven't had anything of anybody going like, I want to go against you and really kind of be that challenge for you versus with the people that you had before kind of thing. So like I'm curious to like moving forward who will be that person in that role because I don't want to see this going for too long because I feel like it's gonna get too repetitive. Versus we also have this similarly kind of happening with Jade in AEW of we have her going against certain people that only have one match, maybe two with her, and then they're gone. And it's been what maybe a year of her being champion or her being undefeated in this way. And it's just at a point that I want her to lose that championship so we can gain kind of more curiosity. Like we want to see her doing something different. I would like to see her chase that championship instead of keeping it. So that's why I hope that it doesn't it's not the same direction that it goes with Jody. That like we get to see the same things at this point. We're like, it's gonna be a typical Jody match. I feel like she can do more than what she's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're only a month removed from Jody's arrival. I think this is only like her third or fourth match, and she did have the brief little thing with Alicia there. I'm okay with a certain amount of local talent squash matches, just for talent coming in to kind of familiarize themselves with the crowd and with the audience so that they understand what the talent is about and the talent understands how the crowd reacts to certain stuff. Also just the pacing of a match and putting together and understanding like cameras and locations and different things like that. In this case with Jody, this match just felt like more of the same. I don't really feel like she really advanced or progressed anything with it. Sierra didn't really stand out in any way to me. She was just another local talent. I know with Rising when they wrestled, it kind of Rising really impressed me with what she did. With the other local talent from the Rebellion Fallout show, I was impressed with her. She had a little bit of charisma. She had a little bit of attitude. She had, she could carry her own in the ring with Jody. With Sierra, it just felt like she was just there. It was just some random name they pulled out of the crowd. So yeah, I would like to see Jody keep progressing, but if it's a matter of her just really getting established, we saw it with Killer Kelly, we saw it with Masha Slamovich, we've seen it with a number of different people in Impact over the last little bit, that coming in and having a couple months of building yourself up before really taking on an established name is usually a pretty solid way of getting established on the roster.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't last too long because I want to see Jody have longer matches and be able to show off more of what she does. And I feel like we haven't gotten much of that. So that's what I want to see moving forward from this. I hope it doesn't take too long for them to get there, though. That's why I'm comparing it to the Jade situation because Jade has been a year of basically the same thing. So I just want to see something different from her. So that's why I hope they don't. I know that's a good way to give us a foundation of Jody's character.
We can't compare Impact to NXT.
No, it's AEW, not NXT. No. But
Jade Cargill. I thought you were talking about Cora Jade.
No. It's very sad. I wouldn't mind seeing Jody Threat helping Trinity, which is all Sean and Sarah and 7 Evans. See that would be a good idea. I feel like you said it's a good foundation for them. I just don't want it to last too long. That's the only hope that I have with the Jody thing because I want to see more from her and like have her have longer matches.
I mean, Barry, we're still kind of missing Tasha in that story. Where is Tasha right now?
That one, I don't know where she's at.
The next segment we got, I'm going to preface this first because I feel like I need to. I hadn't paid very close of attention leading up to tonight to who was on the two teams of our 6-man tag that we had in the main event. So we go backstage where Frankie Kazarian is just sitting and he gets approached by the Edwards couple, Eddie and Alicia. And Eddie says they need to be on the same page tonight that he's watched Kazarian's interviews over the last couple weeks and understands he wants to be the veteran and the leader, and they can't both be ring generals tonight. And I'm sitting here like, wait a second. How did Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards end up as teammates in this match? And then Kaz agrees that, he'll be Eddie's loyal soldier tonight. And then he throws it in his face. Just hope this one goes better than Honor No More. I'm like, oof, that one hurt.
That's exactly how I reacted when I saw the match announcement with Parrish last week. I just kept thinking, one of them doesn't fit with the other ones here, and that was interesting. I kept thinking, well, I guess there's too many faces, so they can have 4-on-2, so they had to pull somebody from the other side to make it even. But I was curious of why Kaz was that person out of like the 4 faces that was pulled to this side to be with the heels. I thought that was really interesting seeing the graphic. I was like, am I dreaming? I thought it would have been like, I'm like, we're not gonna get everybody everybody together as a 6-person match, because that's what's happening at the pay-per-view. So I was like, wait, so it is a tag team. So it is a 3-on-3. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that at first. But yeah, it was something that it took me a little bit to get used to seeing Cass on the other side with the heels.
I feel like I need to go back to my Sesame Street days and just start singing, one of these things just doesn't belong here.
I'll tell you, one of these things is not like the other one. Definitely. But yeah, it was very weird to see it.
It definitely sets up in such a way that you feel like these two probably have a story going forward. The way the match plays out too, and we'll get to that in a second here. But it looks like we're probably looking at Frankie and Eddie spending some time pairing off in the ring.
Yeah. Very. I want to congratulate Alicia on her pointing, top quality pointing. It was in the right direction and everything. She found something she's got. I have no words. I really don't.
Oh, Barry.
I guess those
I always
words,
love
but
having
yeah.
you in the comments, Barry. Always. I'm gonna go into my favorite part of the night next.
Yeah, I figured it was.
Detective Dango is back with Swinger and Zicky Dice, discussing after last week's match between Dango and Swinger that he's convinced that they are not capable of pulling off the attack on Santino, so he has cleared their name and knows that it's not them. But then I missed what Swinger or Zicky said specifically that pointed the finger at Joe Hendry. To which I caught that they said something.
The interaction. I didn't remember if it was the interaction they had last week, but I just love how it started with like the part of Dango saying like, say his name, and then obviously the song just happened. Yeah. And I ended up clapping to it as I was watching the dining table.
You said something there. You said something about someone it could be. Yeah. Say his name. And then we get Joe Hendry, our Lord and Savior, arrives and pops up on screen. And Dango starts accusing him of being the one who potentially attacked Santino. Hendry gets mad at Dango. They start going back and forth. Joe Hendry rips open Dango's shirt and reveals a patch of missing chest hair. So we now know where Santino ripped the hair from. To which Swinger or Zicky, one of them, points out, that's why you wore a shirt to wrestle last week.
Yeah.
And I just feel fulfilled because I feel like I called this, and I feel happy that I did, that Dango is the one who attacked Santino. Dango is the villain, the director of the Port Authority, as Johnny Swinger called it. And then after the reveal, Dango then attacks Hendry, bounces his head off of the web of lies on the wall, and I assume we must be getting Dango versus Hendry out of this. I'm also assuming Hendry must not be going to Dango's birthday party.
Not anymore. If it happens. No, but even before this, Joe was saying something like, "Oh, I'm champion." So like the way he was saying like he's champion made me think of like this is definitely gonna be the next championship match. Um, guessing for Under Siege most likely. Um, but I love this segment even last week, even talking to Parrish about as we discussed it because I just kept thinking it would have been so nice to get a swerve and see Joe being that person that did attack Santino and like kind of saying to the audience like I manipulated you this whole time with like my moveset and like my hands and the clapping and the song and you guys just fell for it. Like I would have loved to see that on screen, but I love that part of like the review of Dango doing it, and then the way he's like, "Oh, that's why you do wear a shirt where you were wrestling." And I keep thinking now, it's like, "Oh, so he attacked him without a shirt on, and he definitely like went like this to kind of defend himself or try to grab him, and that's how he has missing hair." Um, but even like Joe, I like the relationship that Joe and Dango have had, so I'm just kind of like it's bittersweet that it's over already like this. I feel like that's such good chemistry, and then I like when Joe came in, the first thing is like, "Oh, you're continuing the investigation without me? Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, we've been working on this together." So I love that between them. But it was just, I love the review. It was funny. I just would have loved if it was Joe Henry to give us like kind of different swerve here. But I am just sad the relationship's over between them. I'm just waiting for that match graphic to come up for Under Siege, though. It's
I love
happening.
that the reveal was the chest hair, though, of all things. Like, it wasn't a bald spot on your head. It wasn't anything else. It was, there's the missing hair from his chest, and it all makes sense as to why Dango lost the hair, because the hair would have incriminated himself.
Yeah.
I
That's
am
good, though.
excited for heel Dango, though. I'm very excited for this. I kind of pieced it together based on the fact that when he signed his contract, he was talking about getting to play a more serious role and be more serious and not be the funny guy that he's been other places for extended periods of time. So really want to see him go forward in this and have success in being a top heel within Impact.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good opportunity for him to bring something different to the table from what he's done in the past. And I feel like him and Shore are definitely going to have a great match either way. So I'm just excited for the match in itself and for Dango moving forward.
We got the layout for the next couple cards, or at least a little bit for next week's show. We got confirmation of Rich Swann versus Angels, and we got Speedball Mike Bailey versus Chris Sabin. At some point on this show, they also did mention that Speedball is heading over to Japan to take part in the Best of the Super Junior tournament. And then for Under Siege next week, so far confirmed, we have Trinity taking on Giselle Shaw, The Design taking on Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, and a third partner to be determined. We have Subculture of Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews taking on the Ace and Bay Club. We have Trey Miguel defending his X Division title versus Chris Sabin. We have the 6-person number 1 contender for the world title match, Moose versus Eddie Edwards versus Jonathan Gresham versus Uemura versus Alex Shelley versus Frankie Kazarian. We have Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordan Grace for the Knockouts title. If Jordan loses, she is not allowed to challenge Deonna for the title again for as long as Deonna is champion. And we have Macklin defending his newly won world title versus PCO.
Everything else. And we're still probably waiting for Dango and Joe Henry to be announced if it is for the pay-per-view. So that's probably the only one we got left. I think that doesn't have a graphic. Maybe.
Yeah. And as Mel says, Mike is doing amazing in the Battle of Super Juniors. Very happy to hear that. Very happy to see that. Speedball is amazing. He does amazing things everywhere he's been. And his Twitter is always amazing between him and Veda because they clearly love each other very much. And Veda has been tweeting all week how much they miss Speedball. Then we get to the main event and the 6-man tag match that I couldn't remember who was on what teams. So let me clarify here. It was Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Frankie Kazarian somehow taking on Jonathan Gresham, Yuya Uemura, and Alex Shelley. And ultimately, it makes sense once you've seen the match why Frankie was put in the position he was. It makes zero sense going into the match why Frankie was put where he was.
Hello, Corey. Thank you. People has actually been tearing up in Best of Super Juniors, doing Impact Pride as always. Oh yeah, I'm glad he was part of it, and I think he, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was the first promo he did or not, but he did it in Japanese too, and I was like, top notch. I
I
love it.
I love that New Japan is giving this spotlight to Impact Wrestling as well. Like they've got their partnership. We've had Multiverse United earlier this year. We get Multiverse United later this year. Last year we had Ace Austin in the Best of the Super Juniors. We had Ace and Bay in um, the Junior Tag League. It's really, really awesome to see Impact performers getting that chance to get out and shine. And as Mel says, going the other way as well, Uemura getting the chance to shine. And that was one of my notes about this match here is as much as the commentary spent a lot of time focusing on Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards, talking about Kaz as a veteran presence in the locker room, wanting to help the young guys, he's in a match here where he's not with a lot of young guys. These are all veterans. Frankie's not doing any real benefit to the young guns by being in a match with vets. But Uemura being in this match is huge for Yuya. I feel like for him being able to work a match both here in this 6-man and next week in the number one contenders match, he's getting miles and miles of experience under his belt, being able to work with 5 very talented former Impact champions, whether they're X Division champions, world champions, or tag champions. Either way, these are all guys who have won multiple championships in their careers in Impact, and Yuya is being slotted up right alongside all 5 of them, and that's great for him, great for his development, and really awesome to see that Impact and NJPW have that partnership between them where they can work in such a way.
Yeah, and this is another match for me that aside from Trinity and Kilynn King at the beginning, I feel like I couldn't take notes on it because I feel like it was such a great like back and forth between everybody. That was another one that was so fast paced. I feel like I couldn't keep up with everybody anyway to take notes. But like what you said at the beginning, the thing that I really caught on from this was it's definitely going to be Cass and Eddie probably after this, after the number one contenders match is happening at Under Siege. I do see Cass versus Eddie moving forward after that happens. And that's what made me think of like, so this is why, Cass was putting in this tag team and this side of the tag team match is to move this forward after the pay-per-view. But other than that, I feel like it was a great match. I love everything from both teams and the way it played out on screen. Shelley getting that that pinfall win for the team at the end. I feel like I love the main event.
Yeah. The constant bickering and back and forth between Kaz and Eddie, ultimately leading to the end of the match where they turned on each other even though they're partners, and Kaz leaves Eddie laid out in the ring and takes the team loss to rid himself of the Eddie Edwards problem. Really nice to see Alex Shelley get the pin here. Reverse momentum theory would suggest Alex Shelley probably isn't winning the number one contenders now next week, which makes me question if Eddie and Frankie are in a program coming out of this, and if Alex isn't winning since he just won the tag match, which would suggest he probably isn't getting the pin again next week, Jonathan Gresham's the only one that makes sense, right?
Yeah, because definitely not Moose. Yeah, I feel like if you think about it from like that face heel dynamic, Gresham will be the one, if anything. Because I don't see Shelley breaking off. Like you said, it after having that pin, I don't think he's winning it. Plus, it's one of those like you see him and Saban. I don't think either one of them is gonna win their match, and it's gonna continue on with them being a tag team. I don't see them doing anything individually for the time being. So to me, seeing like the people in the 6-man tag being that they're the ones in the match at Under Siege, Gresham will be the only one that I can pinpoint from here.
I was personally hoping that Alex Shelley would end up taking this 6-man, and maybe he still will. Maybe, it's a double swerve here. It's, he won, so we think he's not going to win, and then he does win anyhow. Who knows? It's definitely the story that has at least something to it. Him going off, talking about how he's never won the championship, and now he's going to. Frankie had his program with Macklin before Macklin won the title, so I don't think he'd really be in a position to go and challenge for the title now. Uemura, it would be weird to have him going for a world title right now. So, and I mean, Moose versus Macklin, there's some history there, but I don't think that's a route they would go down either. So, feels like we're probably looking at either Gresham or Shelley versus Macklin coming out of Under Siege.
Yeah, and as Barry saying, I really love this comment. It's like exactly how I would summarize it. This is what a promotional relationship should be, both benefiting exactly what the AEW stuff wasn't. Um, and that's exactly how I felt about it. I feel like they have a good balance of like there's always somebody from New Japan and Impact and vice versa. And I feel like it's not one of those battles of like you're if my guy's there, my guy has to win, and we don't have that. The relationship isn't like that. So that's what I like about it, that we have a good back and forth between both companies. And not only that, but having it result in multiverse united as well. I feel like exactly what it should be, and I'm glad it's happening this way. Like I said, for us, if you think about it from this aspect, from us, Impact has really been that forbidden door more than any other company in wrestling right now. And as Barry says in here too, I really enjoyed this 6 man as well. Everyone had their few minutes. Yeah, I feel like everybody had like a good spotlight in here as well. So it was a great balance between everybody in this match. And you think about it, it kind of makes you think of like all the possibilities that could be moving forward for Macklin, even though we know only one of them has to win it. Um, and yeah, I totally agree. It's like Ella Shelley really deserves it. Yeah, I was stuck between Shelley and Gresham, but I felt because of the Finn, probably Gresham will get it. So that would be like an interesting dynamic moving forward if it is Gresham and Macklin.
Yeah. Just going back to Barry's comment about this is what a promotion relationship should be. I wasn't watching at the time, so it hadn't really clicked in my head until just recently. But the current IWGP World Champion also did his excursion in Impact Wrestling, just as Yuya Uemura is doing right now, and is a former X Division champion as well. Sonata came through the ranks the same way Uemura is doing. He fought through, he battled his way through the Impact Wrestling roster, went back to Japan, joined LIJ, worked his way back up there, and is now world champion. Yuya Uemura is on a great path here. I think he's doing great things with great people in Impact Wrestling, and when he decides to make that return or gets brought back to New Japan and goes back home to wrestle where he came from as no longer a young lion, I'm excited to see what Uemura can do back in Japan again.
Yeah, I feel like Barry's comment is the one that summarizes that relationship best. This is what the relationship between both promotions should be like. I feel like it's very well balanced, and that's what I love about this relationship between Impact and New Japan. Because even as somebody that doesn't watch New Japan, I love seeing the clips online from what I see, because you do see that back and forth, and then it intrigues you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the show for today. That was everything that happened on Impact on Access tonight. This has been Making an Impact. Astrid, where can people find you?
Firstly, tomorrow we have Ladies Fashion Showcase. We will be discussing a little bit about Trinity's debut. I want to get Mel's point on this, and we're gonna be reflecting back, as I said earlier. It's been a year since Sasha and Naomi have left WWE to be Mercedes and Trinity now, so we definitely want to reflect back of what it's been of a year later, than where they are now outside of WWE and how the careers have changed. So we want to really focus on that there. And I know with the weekend there's a lot going on as well. So what next weekend, between all the pay-per-views and everything going on, subscribe to the channel if we can, to the YouTube channel, and then with our local establishments, because we have a lot going on next weekend. I know we have between us and Impact, and being Battleground and Night of Champions, so there's a lot going on. I know that Ed and I have a preview show. I logged the guest for that, so we do have a preview show for Battleground next week. So watch it on our socials when we announce what that would air, on the YouTube channels. And I also have a guest for the Battleground Pro Show, because Ed will not be with me. He will be attending Battleground himself. So I definitely have two special guests coming up for shows. So we'll be announcing them on social media in this coming week. So definitely excited to be working with two of my favorite people. But yeah, aside from that, you can catch me again on Taking Over with Ed. Like I mentioned, Tuesday we discuss NXT. So we definitely won't be giving our predictions, because we'll wait for the preview show to do that now, which is really exciting we're going to be moving forward. We're doing preview shows for the big PLEs that NXT has. And again, doing here Making an Impact with you on Thursdays. And if you haven't yet, you can go back to my YouTube channel. I do have the latest episode of Killer Cuts with Bobby. We talk about the movie Sick that is streaming on Peacock right now in the US. And I do have an interview I'm recording for Astrid this weekend with Alyssa Moreno. So if you have any questions for her, let me know. I'll be recording it with her over the weekend and probably releasing it sometime next weekend as well. But yeah, I feel like the next 2 weeks are going to be busy and exciting in so many different ways. So I'm looking forward to everything that's going on. So if you haven't yet followed me on my socials, my Twitter is Astrid Pizarro, as it is there. And my Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. And then I will say, watch out for our local establishments because we definitely have a lot. That calendar is going to be so full this week between, AEW and NXT and WWE going on next weekend. So definitely exciting. I'm really excited for next weekend. It's going to be busy.
Sounds like it. Sounds like you're going to be crazy busy with all the content. Myself, not so much. I'm here Thursday nights. Most Thursday nights, I'll be here consistently for a few weeks coming up now. Hopefully, I don't have anything on the go as far as I can see. You can follow me on the Twitter at Cody Defoe. Give me a shout on there. Give me a follow. Hit me up. We can talk some Impact Wrestling, anything wrestling related, sports related, all of that kind of stuff. If you haven't already, I actually was a part of a Marvel review with Oled and Andre on our local establishment last week as we gave our thoughts and review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you've watched it, you want to pop in, drop a comment on what you thought on it. And with us, I'll be on periodically with different Marvel reviews going forward in the future with them. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, just every Thursday. If you miss us on the live broadcast here on Thursdays on Astrid's Twitch and YouTube, you can always subscribe to Backbreaker Media on YouTube. We drop the replay of our Impact reviews every Monday morning on Backbreaker Media. Really appreciate everything that Backbreaker is doing to help us out and get us some views on here. So drop a like, drop a subscribe on them, and pop in live with us on Thursdays and join the conversation. Everybody that was there tonight, we always appreciate you. Barry, Mel, Corey, we had Ed in there. Everyone who's in our comments, we always appreciate you joining our conversations and love to have you dropping a line on what you thought on our show and on the Impact shows as well. And as Mel says, June 8th, Top Talent. I haven't bought a ticket yet, Mel. I'm still debating on it. There's not much on that card that's jumped out at me yet. But potentially I will miss an Impact episode for June 8th if I do decide to buy a ticket and go to that.
Why you reminded him, Mel? Why? We were doing fine up until you said that. I guess I'm working through it. I'm glad he was in the chat when this happened. Ew, you got called out too. Keep it going, people. Keep it going. Let's shame him for missing another show. No, but I did want to thank back again Parrish for being with me last week. It was fun to discuss the show with him. I haven't done a show with him in quite a while. I always have Ed jumping in with me, so I do appreciate Parrish for coming in ahead of time to help me. So I would have had to do a show alone. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We appreciate you. And I do want to say thank you because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that we have 700 subscribers on Backbreaker Media. So congrats to not only us, but Andre and Mel, who always put so much content on there as well. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the support. Watch out for our socials when we announce things happening, because obviously we have Under Siege that we have to discuss soon. So yeah, definitely a lot of exciting things coming in the next 2 weeks or so. So thank you, everybody, again. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week, I hope. No, I'm kidding. We'll wait. Bye.